The world is on edge as former President Trump and Russian President Putin announce a surprise summit, their first direct meeting since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The announcement sends shockwaves through capitals from Washington to Brussels, as leaders scramble to understand the implications of this unexpected move. With tensions already at a boiling point, the stakes could not be higher. For over 3 years, the West has stood united behind Ukraine, providing military aid, economic support, and diplomatic backing. But this sudden pivot to bilateral talks throws alliances and strategies into doubt, raising questions about the future of Western unity and the credibility of its commitments. Allies worry that their carefully coordinated approach could unravel overnight. The summit's timing is critical. The war has ground into a brutal stalemate, with neither side able to claim victory. Western support is wavering as fatigue sets in, and a majority of Ukrainians now favor negotiations, desperate for an end to the suffering. The human cost grows with each passing day, making the search for a breakthrough more urgent than ever. Critics warn that Trump's push for a deal could sacrifice Ukraine's future for a quick diplomatic win, potentially legitimizing Russian gains and undermining international law. They fear that hasty negotiations might leave Ukraine vulnerable, setting a dangerous precedent for future conflicts. Yet others see a chance for peace, believing that dialogue, even between adversaries, could open the door to a lasting settlement. For many, hope flickers that this summit might finally bring an end to years of bloodshed and uncertainty. As the world watches, the outcome of this meeting could redefine American foreign policy, reshape the global balance of power, and determine the fate of Ukraine for generations to come. The stakes are immense, and the world holds its breath, waiting to see what will happen next. Choosing a summit location is a diplomatic minefield, where every option is fraught with political consequences and hidden messages. The decision isn't just about logistics or convenience, it's a high-stakes chess move, watched closely by governments, analysts, and the global public. Vladimir Putin faces an active arrest warrant from the International Criminal Court for alleged war crimes, a charge that has dramatically limited his ability to travel freely. Most European venues are now off the table, as any ICC member state would be legally obligated to detain him if he set foot on their soil. This reality forces summit organizers to look beyond the traditional power centers of Europe. They must consider countries that are not signatories to the ICC, such as Turkey, Hungary, and most notably, the United Arab Emirates. In these places, Putin can attend without fear of arrest, and present himself as a legitimate global statesman rather than an international outcast. The optics of the summit location are crucial. A gathering in Dubai or Abu Dhabi, with their gleaming skylines and reputation for luxury, could help rehabilitate Putin's image on the world stage. At the same time, the Trump administration faces a delicate balancing act, risking accusations of downplaying war crimes for the sake of diplomatic engagement. Every negotiation over the venue is, in reality, a negotiation over principles. Organizers must weigh the urgent desire for peace and dialogue against the imperative to uphold international law and justice. The choice of location becomes a symbol of what the summit truly values. When the final decision is announced, it will send a powerful message to the world about the summit's priorities, whether it leans toward pragmatism, justice, or political expediency. For the Kremlin, securing a glamorous and neutral venue is more than just a logistical win, it's a propaganda victory, a chance to project strength and legitimacy to both domestic and international audiences. For Western governments, the venue is a test of their resolve. How far are they willing to compromise their principles for the sake of diplomacy and global stability? In the end, the world will scrutinize not just what is said at the summit, but where it is held, reading into the location as a reflection of the values, priorities, and power dynamics shaping this pivotal moment in history. A major controversy is whether Ukrainian President Zelenskyy will be included in the talks. The US hints at a follow-up trilateral meeting, but Russia resists, preferring to keep Ukraine sidelined and frame the conflict as a US-Russia standoff. Excluding Zelenskyy undermines Ukraine's sovereignty and risks alienating Kiev, fueling fears of a backroom deal. Trump's mixed signals on Zelenskyy's participation create confusion among allies and anxiety in Ukraine. The empty chair at the table would symbolize more than absence. It would represent the marginalization of Ukraine's voice in its own fate. The summit's format will reveal whether Ukraine is a true partner or a bargaining chip. For Putin, the summit is a win before it even begins. Meeting an American president shatters his isolation and grants him legitimacy, without any concessions. The Kremlin thrives on perpetual conflict. Peace would threaten its grip on power. By demanding impossible terms, Putin can blame the West for deadlock and justify ongoing war to his people. The summit is political theater, not a path to peace. Putin gets the photo op, the media spotlight, and a chance to show Russia isn't isolated. For the Kremlin, the process is the prize. Western sanctions and military threats have failed to break Russia's resolve. Russia's economy has adapted, pivoting to trade with China and India, and using creative tactics to bypass restrictions. Even new sanctions may not sever these lifelines without global fallout. On the military front, Trump's nuclear saber-rattling is seen as risky theater, not credible deterrence. Russian propaganda has normalized nuclear threats, blunting their impact. The Kremlin's logic is ideological, not purely rational. Economic pain and military risk are seen as necessary sacrifices. The West's old playbook no longer works. At first, the Kremlin shielded Russians from the war's realities, controlling media and crushing dissent, but Ukrainian drone strikes inside Russia have shattered the illusion, bringing the war home to millions. Air raid sirens, grounded flights, and damaged infrastructure have made the conflict impossible to ignore. The war's impact is everywhere, in the economy and propaganda, in families mourning lost soldiers. While open protest is rare, the old social contract, stability in exchange for passivity, is broken. Russians now face a new reality. The war is real, costly, and close. This growing awareness is a slow-burning pressure on the regime. Its ultimate impact on Putin's hold on power remains uncertain. Hopes for a ceasefire are rising, with talk of halting long-range strikes on civilians. For many, the idea of silence after months of relentless shelling feels like a lifeline, a chance to breathe, to reunite with loved ones, to imagine a return to normalcy. News of negotiations brings a flicker of hope to those trapped in the crossfire, but beneath the surface, uncertainty lingers. But any deal would likely freeze the conflict, not end it, leaving Russian troops in place and Ukraine divided. The front lines etched into the landscape would become new borders, separating families and communities and turning temporary occupation into a grim status quo. A temporary pause risks cementing Russia's gains and abandoning Ukrainian sovereignty for short-term relief. The scars of war would remain, and the threat of renewed violence would hang over every liberated town and occupied village. Such a deal would set a dangerous precedent, showing the world that aggression pays if you can outlast the world's outrage. It would send a message to other would-be aggressors that international law can be bent or broken if the cost is simply waiting out the headlines. True peace requires more than a pause in fighting. It demands justice and the restoration of Ukraine's rights. Without accountability for war crimes and a commitment to Ukraine's territorial integrity, any ceasefire is just a fragile illusion. The summit tests whether the world will settle for stability or stand for principle. Will leaders choose the comfort of compromise or the courage to defend the values that underpin the international order? A ceasefire that rewards aggression is not peace, but surrender. For Ukrainians, the cost of such a compromise is measured not just in lost territory, but in lost hope and dignity. The stakes are nothing less than the future of the democratic order. What happens in Ukraine will echo far beyond its borders, shaping the world's response to tyranny for generations to come.